Hi everyone, I'm CBS19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony on a warm and humid Tuesday night here in East Texas with temperatures currently still sitting in the lower 90s at Tyler and Longview. We were at 91 degrees. Gilmer's also at 91 degrees. What I want to do on this stream here is we'll take a look at the heat. We'll take a look at some cooler temperatures coming in next week. We'll take a deeper dive into Hurricane Erin and what's happening in the tropics. There were some cruise ships that have been altered, their itineraries altered because of Erin, and that's always a possibility this time of the year. And since I know many of us like to go down to Galveston, cruise out of Galveston, perhaps fly over to Florida and cruise, we'll try to give you an update on what the tropics are looking like if you have a vacation planned here within the next, say, 7 days to maybe 10 or even 14 days out. But for right now, warm, humid, all quiet here in East Texas. Let's take a look at Erin. I have a 3D image here. And so what we've done is we've exaggerated some of the cloud tops, but just to give you sort of an idea of what's going on. It's currently a Category 2 storm as of the advisory at 7 p.m. The winds are topping out around 105 miles an hour, and it's moving to the north-northwest slowly at about 10 miles an hour. These little exaggerated clouds that you see bubbling up here, these are thunderstorms feeding into the storm. It does look like for a period of time this afternoon, the storm may have weakened just a little bit, but it may have been going through what's called an eye wall replacement cycle. And so it looks like the eye wall is starting to get better organized once again as it moves to the north and to the northwest. You can see these showers, thunderstorms moving onshore, so there's plenty of rain now starting to move toward the Carolinas and a lot of wave heights, which we'll take a look at just a second. There was a little bit of drier air, I think, trying to work its way in from the southwest that might have lent to the slightly weaker a couple of hours this afternoon. It did come down from a Category 3 storm to a Category 2 storm. And now we'll just change perspective here so you can see in relation to the United States where it is. So the center of Erin is here. Here's the North Carolina shore. It's well offshore at this point, but again, pushing waves up to about 10 to 12 feet out toward the outer banks of North Carolina. And so they're seeing a lot of wave action starting to roll through the beaches and even into some of the streets. So that'll be a factor going forward from here through tomorrow and Thursday as the storm eventually starts to turn away from the United States later on in the week. But another look at Erin from a different perspective here. I'll put the plot on it. This Category 2 storm remains a Category 2 storm as of tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Bermuda way out here has a hurricane, I believe, watch or warning in effect at this time. Hurricane watch, I believe. Category 2 storm still well off the coast of North Carolina. That is a tropical storm warning with a tropical storm watch in the area in pink. Category 2 storm still at Friday at 2 a.m. with 105-mile-an-hour winds. Heads out across the North Atlantic. By the time we get to Saturday, it finally begins to weaken back to about a Category 1 storm, and that's well up into the North Atlantic. So tropical storm watch essentially up and down the eastern seaboard here in Virginia, I believe going up toward Maryland, not quite to New Jersey, but you've got a tropical storm warning from Kill Devil Hills all the way down to Wilmington, North Carolina. This at first was on the Outer Banks. It's been extended now into the actual shoreline of North Carolina. So even though they may not see direct impacts, meaning that the storm doesn't cross over those areas, there's enough water, enough wind to prompt this tropical storm warning for folks out on the East Coast. In fact, this is the chance to see a tropical storm wind of 39 miles an hour or greater here. And this is going to be the North Carolina coast into North Carolina, South Carolina coast. So watch what happens with the storm. There's only about a 19 to 20% chance that the 40-mile-an-hour winds make it that far to the west. Still a chance. And again, still a lot of wave action coming with that. In fact, I'll show you wave actions over the last 6 hours, and you'll see 11 to 12 feet. Pretty consistent here. This is a buoy at Nag's Head, so just offshore. So 10 to 11-foot waves already. A little farther offshore, we're looking at 17-foot waves. So the water's really rocking out there. That's why a lot of itineraries have been altered coming out of Florida. They're no longer going to the Eastern Caribbean. They're headed back to the Western Caribbean as these waves just swell to 8 to 10 and in some instances 17 feet. So a lot of waves, a lot of wave action just riding into the shoreline in that area where you see the tropical storm watch and warnings in effect. All right, eye on the tropics. Now we're going to go out to the Cape Verde Islands. You can see another thunderstorm cluster coming off of the Cape Verdes and off the African coast and drifting westward here very slowly. The winds aloft, the upper level trade winds are very weak this time of the year. Just a 30% chance of development in the next 2 days to the next 7 days. I'll show you why I'm thinking that here in just a second, why the National Hurricane Center is also thinking that. This storm has a 60% chance of becoming Ferdinand as it approaches the Lesser Antilles and the Leeward Islands, missing Puerto Rico and almost following the same path as Erin there. So what's holding it back here? A couple of reasons. One is it moves out into this area. These are going to be areas of shear. So where you see the dark greens and blues, those are areas where the higher you go in the atmosphere, the winds are either stronger or the wind direction is changing. The stronger winds are going to tear off the top of that rising air. As that air is rising and that hurricane or tropical storm is trying to develop, if the winds are strong enough, it continues to shear off the top of that storm and it becomes a cluster of showers and thunderstorms. And so as it moves across this area where there's no shear, it could strengthen, but there is forecasted shear, high amounts of shear here just east of the Leeward Islands. And then it goes through an area where there could be less shear and then back into an area of shear. So not 100% chance slam dunk that that first storm out there becomes Ferdinand, but certainly worth watching. And then you head out here toward the Cape Verde Islands, there is a better chance within the next 2 to say 4 days for that storm to become a little bit stronger. There's a ton of tropical storm energy in the atmosphere, a lot of available energy for thunderstorms to form and for these clusters of showers and thunderstorms we're seeing right now to become much stronger as they head out across the central Atlantic, a little bit less once you get closer to the Leeward Islands, and then if it can make it past there, boy, explosive amounts of energy just off the Florida coast out to the east again of the Bahamas to the northeast of that. That is where Erin went through, and Erin became a Category 5 storm at one time, really tapping into that energy. Plus, you have to have the water temperatures at 80 degrees or above, and that is certainly the case all the way across the Atlantic. I mean, if we track the storm, it rises those 80-degree temperatures all the way into the eastern Caribbean and all the way to the eastern seaboard. So it does have the water temperatures going for it, those two storms that are out there. But again, we showed you areas of higher shear, and we also showed you a couple of areas where the energy was strong enough, but perhaps not quite strong enough. Now, warm water depth is something else that storms like, because as storms cross over the water, they're bringing upwelling from deeper into the ocean. So colder air being brought up to the surface of the ocean can essentially cut off the exhaust or just choke off a storm from continuing to develop. And so when you look at this, these are going to be areas where the water depth of 80 degrees goes down to at least 160 feet. And of course, off the Yucatan Peninsula, it's much deeper than that. So a storm needs that upwelling of warmer air to continue to turn into something called latent heat, which then can be converted to moisture, which can be converted to showers and thunderstorms, and the storm can continue to develop. So it's there, but it's a little farther south than what the forecasted track is right now. Remember, the Cape Verdes are going to be here. The storm is forecast to move across this area where there is not quite as much deep water, warm, deep water. So that's why there is just a 30% chance for this storm to become something, a 10% chance for that storm that's in the central Atlantic right now, but it does move into an area where the water is a little bit warmer, a little bit deeper, and so it has a 60% chance. So let's watch storm energy or storm strength. And I'll put this into motion. We'll play this back a couple of different times. That's going to be storm number 1 that has the 60% chance of forming. And so it does that is going to, what you're looking at there, that is Erin. Here's the next storm. So this is the one that has the 60% chance, just kind of moving out here Thursday into Friday. Notice it starts to weaken a little bit. Our other storm out here is just loosely organized, just doesn't have a lot of storm strength, not a lot of spin at 18,000 feet. This one tries to get its act together as it moves closer and closer to the Leeward Islands and to Puerto Rico. So showers and thunderstorms possible there. We'll keep an eye on that one. Again, it does have a 60% chance to become a named storm within about 7 days. Otherwise, this other storm out here, a 30% chance over the next 7 days to become a named storm. So we shall see if it essentially can become that storm. What's lacking here also, there's some drier air working its way in at about 10,000 feet. And so as these storms, look at all this dry air here. So that one storm that has a 30% chance encounters all that dry air. And then you've got the other storm that is moving across the central Atlantic, but look what it encounters, a bunch of dry air at that critical level. Even though some of that dry air or moist air moves along with it, there's a lot of dry air out there in the Atlantic to choke off these storms, to keep those from becoming well-organized tropical systems. So they could become a weak tropical storm. It still could become a hurricane, but at this point it looks like it's going to be battling a few factors that would keep it from perhaps being another Erin. Erin touched Category 5 for a short period of time earlier this week, I think Monday morning, and now it's down to a Category 2. Next storm up would be Ferdinand, then Gabriel, then Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, and Nestor. And we should get that far into the season as we are just now beginning to get close to the peak of hurricane season, which is around September 10th. So we are essentially sitting right in here. We're starting to see the peak of hurricanes and tropical storms starting to move up here. They'll stay that way till the end of September, and then through October and into November, we start to see the season wane. All right, let's talk about East Texas. Let's get an update on our forecast here. We've got clear skies tonight, but look what's up here to the north. Interstate 40, 44, we've got showers and thunderstorms dropping southward with a front. This is the area we'll watch for tomorrow morning, about 10 a.m. for a chance to see some scattered showers and thunderstorms move through here. Potential for some heavy rain in spots. It's almost another day of haves and have-nots, for instance, and don't marry these numbers to these cities, but Gilmer could come away with no rainfall at all. And just a few miles down the road, you got about ½ inch of rainfall at Longview and 1 inch of rainfall at Henderson and nearly 2 inches of rainfall at Nacogdoches and at Lufkin. So that's the kind of feast or famine day we're talking about again tomorrow as another front comes through. A lot of buoyancy in the atmosphere, a lot of rising air, showers, thunderstorms. They pop, they go, they fade away. They'll pulse up, they'll pulse down. Some of those could be a little longer lasting and perhaps producing a little more rainfall. The hour-by-hour forecast right now, at least near Interstate 20, and this does not include Deep East Texas, because I think once you get into Deep East Texas, you could also be including some showers and thunderstorms around 3, 4, 5 o'clock. But anyway, 95 for the high tomorrow. Best chance of rain, say at Gilmer, Henderson, Jacksonville, Tyler, Longview, maybe as far south as Nacogdoches through about noon, and then Deep East Texas later on in the afternoon. Here's Future Skycast. I'll walk you through this. I'm going to start this at 4 a.m. Remember, we have those showers and thunderstorms up at Oklahoma. They drift southward by 8 a.m. with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. They look a little bit disorganized by 12:30, though there is some modeling data that suggests we do have a little more filled in shower and thunderstorm activity. I'm going to get new data here in a half hour, and I'll share that with you tonight on CBS 19 News at 10. By the way, if this update is helping you out, helping you plan, please go ahead, hit the like button. Also, you can share this on the Facebook page so others can see it. And on our CBS 19 stream, we do appreciate your time. Here we go with showers, thunderstorms Wednesday evening. Notice, you see how they blossomed between about 3 and 6 from Palestine to Jacksonville to Nacogdoches down to Center. So those are with us till about 10 or 11 o'clock. Then Thursday morning, with the boundary left over, the moisture interacts with that boundary. We got another chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday, and then in the afternoon, as the boundary continues to sit there and we get agitated cumulus clouds, we start to see the showers and thunderstorms bubbling up again, and then the front pushes farther off to the south. And by Friday morning, temperatures are in the 60s. By Friday afternoon, we're talking about sunshine, but highs only in the low to mid 90s. Now, I want to show you the 6 to 10 day outlook here, because this is something that a lot of folks will want to see. We're talking about a chance to see above average rainfall, just barely, here in East Texas, more likely out in the Intermountain West, and drier around the Great Lakes. Now, the good news here is, look at this. When we get into that late August time frame in about 6 to 10 days, we have a frontal boundary coming through here. And so while below average temperatures are likely from Wichita to St. Louis to Cincinnati to Chicago, we're close enough to that where our average daytime high next week's about 94 or 95 degrees. We could see highs around 85 to 87 degrees, maybe a little cooler closer to the Red River, a little bit warmer over parts of Deep East Texas. So about 85 to 90, that's running 5 to 7 degrees below average. It's a little taste of what is to come eventually. Once we get into September, we start to see those stronger cold fronts beginning to arrive. I know, I said 90 degrees or 87, woohoo, but trust me, as hot as it was today, hit 100 today, that 87 or 85 degrees next week will feel amazing. Here's our Baylor Scott & White Texas Pine Joint Hospital 10-day forecast. 95 with a 30% chance for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. 93 on Thursday, 94 on Friday. It's hot Saturday and Sunday, and then temperatures are warming back up into the lower 90s by Monday before that front arrives, and it knocks our temperatures down into the 80s for most of next week. By the way, East Texas high school football season kicks off next Thursday and Friday, and temperatures right now look really nice for the start of the new season. Thanks for watching our CBS 19 Plus stream, also on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. We appreciate your time. You can go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You never miss an update that we give you here on CBS 19. Have a great evening. Hope to see you at 10 o'clock.